Well, for those of you joining us for the cross country here, a very good morning to you from a sort of misty Lillehammer. We've just finished the Nordic combined competition, and now it's time to focus on the cross country. So first of all, let's take a reminder of what we've got coming up for you for the day, and it's a packed program of Nordic and indeed Alpine winter sport. Most immediately, in about 12 minutes from now, it'll be the women's 5-kilometer freestyle, the second leg of the Lillehammer Triple. Then off to Sweden, Patrick Winterton, your host there for the men's sprint. Then the concluding part of the Nordic combined from this morning, the second competition of the season. And after that, the second part of the Lillehammer Triple for the men, 10 kilometers freestyle skating here on Norwegian snow. Moving into the afternoon, the women's sprint from Östersund, as you can see. The first of two big hill ski jumping competitions at 1600 CET, and then it's across to North America. The men in Beaver Creek. The women have moved north into Canada for their downhill. So Lillehammer all set for the women's cross country. But before we get underway, a chance to look back at yesterday's freestyle sprint, the second sprint competition of the season. Well, Marit Bjørgen over on the far side there, leading off a posse of 4 Norwegians. And as they got deep into the race and coming into the stadium, it was the untouchable Marit Bjørgen who came through to take the victory, with Celine Brun-Lee just on the right there, and the orange headband out sprinting Heidi Weng. Both of them delighted to be on the podium.
I was good in the prologue and also in the heat, so I'm really happy today. And yeah, shape is very good, and today I feel very fast also, so yeah, I'm really happy. It's a great day and good beginning for the Mini Tour.
Yeah, good beginning. A hat-trick, a clean sweep for the Norwegian women. In fact, the first 4, and Marit Bjørgen consolidating her advantage. And so to the men's sprint, and once again a strong Norwegian presence. But at the business end, it was Finn Krogh trying to maintain his advantage, but coming very fast on the far side there. Paul Goldberg, who lurked at the back, saving energy, who came through for a very smooth victory. The Norwegian with Patukov just out-lunging Finn Krogh for the third place.
Insane, so I have to thank the wax guys for the skis, but the body was good as well, so hope for a good weekend.
Indeed, worth keeping an eye on Paul Goldberg in terms of his progress throughout the Lillehammer Triple. So still about 7 or 8 minutes to go before we get underway with the women's cross country, and we'll be focusing on that when we come back after this. Well, the sun bursting through after a pretty chilly morning. It was -4 on the jumping hill early on, and quite gloomy at the start of the Nordic combined, but now a fresher look and up higher here in the cross-country stadium, which year by year has improved here in Lillehammer. And alongside myself, David Goldstrom, Mike Dixon, looking forward to the second part of this Lillehammer Triple, whereby the result of yesterday's sprint, Mike, is now connected to today's start list.
It is, and the winner, Bjørgen, we saw that earlier, gaining the 32nd or subtracted from her time, so she has an advantage on the red group. So the best 30 have been selected to go at the back of this pack, so they've got all the information ahead of them, interspersed with lower ranked athletes, so that we see every minute the top ranking athletes.
There is the differential in terms of time. Marit Bjørgen will be last to start, and all of these others, you can see the sort of time they've got
Marit
to
Bjørgen of
make.
Norway, the current tour leader, heading into day 2 of competition. We're in the early morning here in Lillehammer, still dark. Looking forward to today's 10-kilometer. We don't do 5-kilometer that often interval start. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, of course I'm looking forward. It's a distance to fit me well, I think. But Therese was fast last weekend, so I really have to go fast today to get some, second for hopefully to tomorrow. So I'm looking for important to be fast from the beginning today and find a good speed and hopefully I could fight for a podium tomorrow. So.
Right. Well, good luck today.
Thanks.
Well, it's early in the season. It was early in the morning. You can see how early they all have to get up to get ready there. But she's already 102 points ahead of her nearest pursuer. That's her own teammate, Teresa Johaug. And that's a full race ahead of her nearest opponent, and we're only into the second week of cross country. So Marit Bjørgen doing what she's done in recent seasons, getting a really good start to the campaign.
Quite busy for her as well, David, with the press interest obviously from yesterday. Her form is outstanding, and she should to lead each of those. She led the time trial early in the morning yesterday to qualify through as number 1 into the sprints, and then led each one of those sprints. A lot of energy out yesterday, a lot of energy in all the press conferences and television last night, and now she was one of the first athletes out here this morning at just after 8 o'clock.
Yeah, she seems very relaxed though. She seems to be really enjoying it. So clearly the whole preparation for her season, the autumn training, has gone extremely well. Let's talk about this 5-kilometer course, because although we've got a big field, 96 starters from 21 nations, this will almost be over in the blink of an eye with them starting so quickly, 30-second intervals.
And interestingly, Marit pointing out, so important to get your pacing correct. She said you has to be strong from the start, and then find your rhythm. So she is going to go hard from the gun, and she'll be matching her times of Therese Johaug ahead of her. 5,000
meters, and warming up. The men are arguably going to have the nicest conditions of the day, because the weather promises to be rather good as the day progresses. And there are all those little transponder straps getting ready for each of the competitors.
And there is a lot to do, David, as Marit Bjørgen there in darkness out testing her skis, so just warming up her body, testing her skis. There's a lot to go through. Another chance to look at the course and the technical aspects of this course, and until her mindset and her body are ready to go.
Big advantage though going last in a 5-kilometer race, such a short distance, because she'll know exactly what she has to do. And basically it's as you indicated, it's start fast, get faster, and then finish even faster.
And I think she's and she will. And she learned from last week, David, when she got a split time of Therese Johaug. She started behind her, and she realized that 25 seconds deficit, there was no way she could catch her.
And here's the course.
So there we are. We've got the reasonable climb out of the stadium. It gets steeper as we go along. Undulations now for the next 2 kilometers. But it is technical. You can see these curvy, twisty bends. This is the big climb coming up now, just prior to the descent back down into the finish area, with one further little climb and a flat, gently downhill finish.
And the cross-country course actually at a higher altitude than the ski jumping stadium, where it was -4. You might have noticed there -7 the air temperature, -8 the snow temperature. Should be pretty straightforward to prepare the skis. Freestyle skating as well. There shouldn't be any excuses. The servicemen, if they get this wrong, well, they deserve a shall we say a wages deduction?
Well, you know, and what I've noticed this season, David, is Marit Bjørgen, Paul Goldberg, the winner of the sprint, the Norwegians are so very much praising their wax technicians, and they know that is a huge aspect. And we saw some difficulties at the Olympics. Posey Musgrave there, 51, Andrew Musgrave's sister. Good to see her in the women's 5-kilometer.
Indeed, and you can see what a big field this is, over 90 starters. So one of the things that will be a factor here all the way through the race is actually traffic.
It will. It's a one-lap course, so that is their journey. And interestingly, as many places do, a lot of the snow they've got here, the base part of the snow, is stockpiled snow from last March, April time, and they insulate that all summer, and then they have the machine-made snow on top. So it's quite hard packed.
Russians, and many of you might have picked up in the newspaper, on the media as well, the Russians coming under criticism from the German newspapers as to their, well, obedience with regard to anti-doping procedures, and the Russians now inevitably find themselves in a situation where they've really got to answer that charge from Germany.
And I think so they should, and well, certainly in the biathlon, tragically or sadly, last what was it, January, 2 of the key players in biathlon were banned prior to the Olympics. It is out there and it needs to be stamped out.
So just about 60 seconds away from Claudia Neustadt of Germany going into the timing hut to start her challenge. The very experienced German who, in terms of career achievements, must really cherish the silver medal she got way back in 2006 now in Praia-Gelato in the freestyle sprint Olympic final. And that's really her best in terms of championship medals, although she is 2 times a World Cup winner in her career, and she's going to set us off. And Neustadt really at the moment important for the German women's team, which is under reconstruction. They haven't had many juniors coming through, and in a sense that's the reason why she's still there in the elite team.
It's going through a period of change. I have seen that Frank Ulrich, head coach, has brought in a younger, well, a very talented junior world champion, in fact, from 2013, over 5 kilometer free. So she starts in 3rd place. So he is trying to bring some of the talented athletes in as well. But I'm sure that Claudia will and has produced so many times before for Germany.
Looking pretty relaxed. Here we go. So Claudia Neustadt on her 5 kilometer journey, I should say, pushing out there, to be followed very shortly by Anouk Favre-Picon for France, and then the young German you were alluding to, Victoria Karl, the junior world 5 kilometer freestyle champion of 2 seasons ago, and one of the brightest prospects for Germany. Now Favre-Picon didn't get a ranking last year in the World Cup. Went to Sochi, but didn't have much joy in either the skiathlon or indeed the 30 kilometer freestyle mass start. I think 5 kilometers for Favre-Picon is a little on the short side, but then pretty well the whole field could say that. Now here is this promising youngster, just 19 years of age, from the eastern part of Germany, from Zella-Melech. You can see quite a tall athlete. Very tall athlete, very, very talented. And yeah, that former East German base, the ski college there, where they give them their education, they still do the education and the skiing. And that is so important to start at a young age with all the information, all the technical aspects of your game built in early. Big name for the future, I think, David. Czech Republic, Grohova, another country where they're seeking new success. This is a 24-year-old member of the Dukla Liberec Club with experience in Sochi and the last World Championships. But still, the Czech Republic to try and replace the likes of Katarina Neumanova. That's some ask, because an athlete like Neumanova really only comes round once a generation. They do, and they have to be cherished and well looked after. This looks like Caldwell warming up, bib number 6. Famous grandfather and famous uncle, both Olympians in cross-country skiing. Caldwell. So quiet amongst the trail here. This for Neustadt is going to feel a little bit like a training run here. because there's absolutely nobody else out there around the course. Those fans who've turned out early are generally around the stadium complex, and it's 1 5-kilometre loop, so it's not even 2.5, which they might have done, because they were a bit short of snow here.
They were, and you can see the tracks prior to Neustadt going around. They've been well skied on, lots of athletes, coaches out testing this morning, but they were groomed, I think, at 5 o'clock this morning just to compress them. Interesting, Neustadt back in 2002 in the sprint competition at the Olympics, she came 4th. And in Sochi this year, I think it was 35th she was, and yesterday 66th in the trial, so her sprint speed is deserting her.
Yes, I'm afraid age catching up the years as we see Riitta-Liisa Ropponen. And this is an athlete who really over the years, I have to say, has disappointed me. Flattered only to deceive on so many occasions. I mean, a 10 or a 15-kilometre freestyle race has usually been her cup of tea, but, you know, she's just not got the victories which I think she should have got over time. But this is Karl coming up here. Now, remember, Karl, she started a full minute behind Neustadt.
Certainly one of the younger athletes in the field at just 19. And it's a big moment. This is only her 2nd ever World Cup race. The nerves will be tingling still. New experience.
So 2-3 seconds behind her teammate.
Very strong athlete.
Yes, I just wonder whether she's going to be an athlete who, in the modern era, is going to be much more comfortable in mass starts rather than these individual time trials. It makes you wonder, actually, given the result of yesterday, why they didn't turn this round the other way and get Marit Bjørgen going off first. But I think this race, funnily enough, if they could have run it as a mass start, it would have been a better race.
I think so, and tomorrow it's the hunting start format based on the results today, so that is certainly going to be a massive attack out on the track.
One of the newer Russians into the elite squad. First World Cup outing yesterday, and 2 seconds to the good. One just really hopes that, you know, that what the German papers were saying, that it was systemic, endemic, you know, one really hopes that, you know, it hasn't really spread right through Russian sport. But, you know, the realities these days are, when somebody makes an accusation like that, it's almost inevitable that the accused have to prove their innocence rather than the other way round.
And you really can't come out with stories such as they've been coming out with in the press there without some substance, well, no smoke without fire in that story.
Promising Emma Viken for Sweden from Falun, just getting underway, and amongst those warming up there, just caught a moment of Alec Shebashek, and now Ropponen coming up here. Yeah, I don't know what you feel about this, but I just think Ropponen is a good skier, but she, like Claudia Neustadt, now in her 37th year, you know, you just can't really see her, you know, picking up a victory at this stage now. I think she's had the opportunities, and I think, you know, unfortunately, they've passed her by individually.
Possibly, and certainly last year, remember, Ropponen was going much more for the distance races, the World Loppet Tour, and mixing that with some World Cup racing. So when you've put such a huge amount of training in for the long distance races, you definitely do lose your spark over 5 kilometres.
Krosteleva, second on a couple of occasions in her career, but not particularly recently. More in the sprints than anything else. 14, Nicole Fessel. What a servant this woman has been to German cross-country skiing. Just one podium finish, and that was in the skiathlon in Sochi, a dress rehearsal race, a couple of seasons ago. And that was a terrific reward for a career that sees her over 130 World Cup starts for Nicole Fessel. Ida Sargent, promising, particularly in the sprint division for the Americans. And in Ruka, in Kusamo last weekend, a 5th place, a personal best in World Cup racing for her. But not so good yesterday outside the top 50 in freestyle.
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe the Americans, it was around 0 degrees, not overly difficult, but when Kickin Randall had such a poor, by her high standards, poor sprint race, did wonder if their equipment, their skis weren't gliding as well as they maybe should have been.
Emma Vicken, who a couple of seasons ago was the under-23 world bronze medalist at skiathlon, and has come close to a podium. Go back to the 2013 season, she was 4th in Davos over 10 kilometers freestyle, twice of today's distance.
Emma Vicken, well, from Falun, as you said, pressure on for February. She'll want her best form to be at that time during the World Championships there.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be so much desire to make the Swedish team, not least the relay quartet. And you can see all these women here keeping quite warm. It is chilly.
It is minus, what, 7, -8.
Yeah.
They've been out on the tracks. There is another track for warm-up. They put a little track in. You can see the huge climb here now, David, at 3.3, coming up to the high point of the course. For the athletes, it will feel like this has gone on forever. It's some 800 meters of continual climb. You can see it way in the background where they've started this long distance climb.
So Nystad still making the pace.
Do you remember on these hills 20 years ago for the Olympic Games, what, 125,000 spectators watching the cross-country races here?
Yeah, and again, I have to say, Mike, very sad that Oslo felt that they couldn't sustain their bid for the 2022 Games to bring the Olympics back to Norway. But it's such an expensive business, and the people of Oslo and Norway couldn't give it their support. Repnitsia, who was the leader up the first climb up to 900 meters, and she had an advantage over Nystad of a couple of seconds there, and you can see how much more purposeful she is. Really good rhythm up here, and the tempo is good as well.
Yeah, very, very strong. She's getting a lot of drive through her right arm, compressing all her weight through the arm and the right heel at the same time to get maximum drive through the right ski. Transferring, if we look at the Norwegians later, the transfer of weight onto the left could be much better on the left foot coming further up into the hill. If the technical experts were watching it, they would say that would make her slightly faster with those changes.
Repnitsina there has taken another 4 seconds out of Claudia Nystad in between 900 meters and 3.3 kilometers. So that's good skiing. And 25 about to get underway here. Chekaleva, much more experienced Russian. Chekaleva at 30 years of age and over 50 World Cup starts, but yet to win a race. She's knocked on the door a couple of times in Poland last year in 10-kilometer classic style, and in also this skiathlon in 2013. She was the runner-up there. The yellow and black of Rojean for France. Won second place the year before the Sochi Games, runner-up in the freestyle sprint in Sochi. So many athletes who have been so close to winning a World Cup, but will they ever achieve that dream? And here coming into the finish is Claudia.
That's the same finish as the sprint races yesterday, if you're watching. So it is a fast finish, slight rise here, and then the left-hander coming up into the home run of 200 meters. Well, I think we'll see the winning time, David. Maybe even 12:15 for Bjørgen or Johaug.
Well, that's the target in the clubhouse, 13 minutes and 15 seconds, but never easy to go first anyway, because you've got that clock in your head, and it really is something that you just have to work to alone. There's nothing you can do. You're not getting any real splits of any importance that are being given to you, because you know that the best runners are still to come, and they're a long way back. Now, here's Emma Vicken. Now, Emma Vicken, almost 4 seconds down on... I'm just having a look at this. Repnicina, yeah, early on, Vicken 4 seconds down on Repnicina. So they've got Neustadt there at 3.3 kilometers.
I think it shows as Vicken is coming up there, Neustadt's time is going to be competitive. It might place her in the top 30. It might even place her in the top 20. But of course, the big names are starting at the very back. Plenty time to go. That is a huge climb when you look right down into the background. 8.8 behind now for Vicken.
Well, good aggressive start here from Justyna Kowalczyk, and interesting to see how Justyna does today.
I think it was way back, David, in 2009 when Justyna won her last freestyle World Cup, and her technique, her ability on the skis in the freestyle isn't as flowing or easy as her amazing strength in the classic style.
Yeah, the World Cup champion of 2013. But you're right, yeah, a winner of a winner of 30 World Cup races, Justyna Kowalczyk. But maybe an athlete with a different way of setting her targets for the season now. Maybe not so bothered about winning the overall World Cup for the season, more concentrating on maybe the Tour de Ski, again, which has always been a favourite of hers, and the World Championships, where probably she's looking to multi-medal. I think you mentioned last weekend more classic stages this year in the Tour de Ski. That will help her.
I think that's a fair reflection as well, where last year only 2 days of classic out of 7 days of racing. This year it's 3 and 3 classic, 4 skating.
Germany versus Germany on the time clock there, and look at that. They're both on the same mark.
And I think it shows the experience of Neustadt, how strong she is, with no split timings ahead of her. Therese Johaug there on the left of screen, just taking some energy drinks before her start. I think Neustadt's going to be sitting in the winner's chair for, well, at least 10, 15 minutes.
Steffi Böhler, well, you and me were having a chat earlier this morning about what we were describing as the rather disappointing form of the Germans, but so far, I know it's early days, Mike, but this is a little more encouraging.
It is, and Frank Ullrich, he's proved his credentials in the biathlon side as head coach there for many, many years. Now he's bringing that into the cross-country side. And a former multi-world champion, Frank Ullrich, as well. He knows the game, he knows the sport. Look at this, because Justyna attacking so aggressively.
Yeah, and it's her teammate, Jaskiewicz, who is actually leading 2:35, and that's a second ahead of Repnicina of Russia. So that starts to give us a little bit of a target. Not a bad performance also by Jess Diggins of the United States. She'd be now 2.5 seconds behind Kowalczyk, but not a bad start from her. And Diggins is running at about the same pace at the moment as Neustadt. Sandra Wingwald, and you can see it's a strong entry from the German team, from Schönwald in the Black Forest, this 24-year-old. Relatively lightly raced at World Cup level. Narrowly missed out on a medal a couple of seasons ago in the under-23s. The finisher Vicken coming down and into the stadium there. That's sweeping right-hander where you really can carry some speed down into the stadium.
So important, David, after the extreme climb. I know their legs are at their limit, at the high point, but it's so important to try and work these skis leading down that descent when you can.
Well, she was something like 8 seconds behind Neustadt, and she's made a fraction, but not enough that makes a real difference. So interesting that Repnitsina, who seemed at one point during the race to be cutting back, she's actually finished behind Neustadt by 16 seconds. So Jess Diggins coming across, and Jess Diggins taking the lead. So that is really good skiing. At 3.3 kilometers, she was, what, 3 seconds behind Neustadt. So that's a very good finish by Jess Diggins. And here's Fessel, who at 3.3 kilometers was on exactly the same time as Neustadt, and now chasing Jess Diggins. So Jess Diggins made time. What's happened to Fessel?
And it's so important. You're getting times given from the athletes ahead of you, and that's where Fessel is really digging even deeper now to try and pull the deficit, or the equal time with Neustadt at the top of the big climb. Stumbling a little into the home straight.
But there you can see the time evaporating here. There's Jess Diggins. She's actually watching this as Fessel comes home. 4, 3, just 2.3 seconds. And that means that actually Jess Diggins was a second faster than Fessel in the last 1,700 meters. But Fessel found that little bit of extra speed. Now, this is Böhler. And Böhler was just 2 seconds behind Fessel and Neustadt at 1,700 meters. And I don't think she's made the time here. Doesn't look as comfortable, looks a little bit more labored, and I think she's running out of gas.
Looks that way. The body language just beginning to... she's still got some way to go, and not working, attempting to work at all over that rise. And it does give you, if you work over the rise, you've got more momentum, which carries you faster down and into the stadium.
And Kowalczyk at 2.2 kilometers, a second ahead of Neustadt's time. So shows you that Neustadt, who started out, had the most difficult start number of the lot. Actually, that's a pretty respectable effort from her at this stage of this race. And Böhler, you can see here, lost a lot of time. And 11 seconds over Böhler, and she was 1,700 meters earlier. She was only 2 seconds down.
Well,
Čekaláva.
The effect of this hill, David, when you look back down the descent. And the 5 kilometers, it's an awkward distance for the women. They don't often do it now in the freestyle, so it's a little bit of an unknown for some of these athletes. They don't do it that many times.
Now that's interesting, because Čekaláva was fractionally slow, I mean 400 slower at 2.2 kilometers, and quickest at 3.3 kilometers, the extra kilometer on, 3.3 kilometers. And so this is interesting, Čekaláva, whether she can maintain this pace.
Posey Musgrave there, just getting ready for her start.
Croatia, who don't exactly have a huge cross-country contingent here. This is Verdrana Malic, 24 years of age, from Zagreb.
Well, Fessel gets the winner's cheer for a short while.
Yeah, good run for her. Jess Diggins in second place, Neustadt down to third, and Viken in fourth place in the clubhouse. Marta Kristoffersen, who's not been the healthiest of athletes in recent times, and is trying to, as it were, re-establish herself, but still has a lot of work to do. She's still entitled and wearing the national costume of her country, but you can see there 30 seconds. And it's all a bit laboured, isn't it, at the moment?
It is. She's had her setbacks, and it does take time with when you miss a lot of training for you to get back into your best race form, or even feeling good out there on the skis, able to push the body at its highest level.
Jaškovic at 3,300 meters, and coming up here, but she was, for my money, she was she was virtually on terms with Chekalayeva a kilometre ago, but now has found that very difficult. She's lost almost 5 seconds in the last kilometre.
Surprise, she did go out fast. Remember, she was ahead of Kowalczyk on those earlier split times, and Jaskowicz went out to New Zealand with Justyna Kowalczyk this summer for some big distance training and some races down in New Zealand.
Kowalczyk she had a second advantage, 1.3 seconds advantage over Chekalayeva. That was a kilometre ago. And Kowalczyk now behind the Russian.
Needs to keep the force going. She'll be getting the times. Those 2 seconds can be picked up in the final 600 metres.
Yeah, but that's interesting because the deficit is doubled as far as Kowalczyk is concerned. I'm rather disappointed with that and a little bit surprised as well.
Much faster tempo there from
Stina Nielsen. And Stina Nielsen, another of the promising youngsters in the Swedish contingent. Interesting to see that she has got some local support here. Stina Nielsen, who at 21, full of prospect. Of course, the Junior World Classic champion of 2013. And third place in Drammen last season in the Classic. So that's giving you hints as to where her form comes from. And it's generally in Classic racing. And comes up here with a deficit of 10 seconds behind Chekalayeva. Chekalayeva coming towards the finish now, and 6 seconds to the good. So over Fessel, and Chekalayeva has made an extra couple of seconds in the last kilometre. So Julia Chekalayeva leads from Nicole Fessel of Germany, Jess Diggins down to third, Neustadt ahead of Emma Wicken in fourth and fifth respectively, then Steffi Böhler and Sarina Bonner of Switzerland in seventh place, ahead of Retnesina of Russia, and then Teresa Stadlober and Rita Ropponen, or Rita-Lisa Ropponen, I should say, completing the top 10.
(32nd) yesterday, Tia Dorsen, young and up-and-coming Norwegian.
Well, World Cup debut yesterday, and you can't really call this a distance race. It's almost, well, when you think about it, the prologue, the quarterfinals, the semi-finals and the finals, that was 4 times round 1,250 meters. That yesterday's sprints, actually, if you accumulate the rounds, was actually longer than the race they're involved in here today.
And that was at full tempo. Well, here's Charlotte Kalla.
Yeah, interesting to see what Charlotte can do over half of her favourite distance. But she's looked reasonably sharp, qualifying for the sprints, so one would hope that she can be competitive here. But of course, she's going early, very early. I mean, Marit Bjørgen, who's going to be last to start, is wearing bib number 96.
I think Kalla's going to... she's from Vancouver, of course. She loved the 10K freestyle. She took that gold medal there convincingly.
Carried a bit of my money in Sochi, and for a whole lot of time I thought she was going to actually deliver as well. Jaskowicz deserves a little pat on the back here. She's always in the shadow of Kowalczyk, and last time we checked she was about 2-3 seconds behind Kowalczyk, who's yet to come home, but 17 seconds off Chekalayeva. That is a big loss of time in the last 1,300 meters, I'm afraid.
You just feel, I was going to say, Kowalczyk, the technical drop down into the stadium doesn't suit her style. She's lost more time.
Yeah, Kowalczyk was only 2.9 seconds behind Chekalayeva. That was at 3,300 meters. So this is a significant loss. in ninth place, 20.4 seconds behind Chekala at the finish. Also confident. Mononen. Now Mononen at 3,500 meters was 5 seconds behind the Russian who leads in the clubhouse. But again, yet another racer in this last section of the race when they're coming downhill with this, who's lost a lot of time. And then what that's telling you is that really they're actually running out of petrol, so maybe have used a little too much too early.
It's an interesting one. Look, this climb is a significant part of the race. The stronger athletes, those in better form, they can attack this hill and work as fast, as hard as they can over the top and keep that momentum. Though we've seen so many of the athletes totally spent here, so there's nothing left in their legs to cope with the technical descent and make the most of the technique as you go around the fast bends and round the corners and dropping over the top of the hill.
Fastest starter over the first 900 meters here, ahead of Petra Novakova of the Czech Republic. A good start from her. Martin Ek Hagen, also faster than Kowalczyk. The first three, Kaller, Novakova, Hagen, quicker than Kowalczyk up the first climb to 900 meters. So we can expect faster times even than that. But here's Novakova, I should say. And just having a look, she was quickest through 2,200 meters. And just looking at her relationship to Chekalaeva, Novakova 6 seconds up. So now this is good pacing.
It's impressive, very, very impressive. She needs to try and continue this effort. There's still more climbing to go up around the left-hand turn up at the end of that straight. Hagen.
Yeah,
surely
Hagen
this is going to be a good lead time.
Yeah, Hagen was within 300ths of Novakova a kilometre ago as we switch to the finish. And the Norwegians having a look at Thea Dawson. That is a very respectable performance by her. World Cup debutant. I hope that is going to turn into a big smile, because it should do.
It should do. And although Thea Dawson, she looked like she was struggling here, but her strength, she was gliding such a long way with each compression of each ski.
So Hagen has now gone from second to first there, and she's turned a 300 of a second deficit into a 5.2 second advantage, and is actually 11 seconds up on Chekalaeva.
It's pretty good. I loved her gear change there at the top of that rise, went straight into the skate 2 action, using the poles on each compression of the leg.
Hagen, again, another young Norwegian, early 20s, and again, if you go back to Junior World Championships and under 23s, you know, she was runner-up in 2011 in Otterpa in the 10-kilometer pursuit. She won the under 23 World Skiathlon title last season, along with the 10K Classic. And the previous season, she'd also won the Skiathlon under 23 Worlds, was third in the 10K Classic. So Hagen, clearly a youngster to keep an eye on. Out of the gate, Marit Bjørgen. I was going to say, it was Anastasia Dotsenko was just getting away, and Marit Bjørgen not too far away from starting, but still more than 10 minutes to go. Marcic wearing 40, the front one of these two runners here. Just having a look at, she was, well, relatively to Hagen, she was some 17 seconds down. She was only 6 seconds behind Chekalaeva, and that was at 3.3 kilometers. So very interesting. Could she perhaps be the best pole? Because Kowalczyk's 3 seconds down on Chekalaeva. I wonder. Probably not, actually. Just looking at this now. Too much to do as she comes into the final 100.
It's good, though. This is a growing team, though, David. 23-year-old Polish girls, and because of Justyna Kowalczyk, are lifting their game. They're putting more money into it, attending more camps, and it's all becoming that little bit more professional.
Yeah, it's being Kowalczyk who's pioneered it. 20 seconds now. takes the glasses off, looks at the clock. What do we make of that?
I think she should be quite happy with that performance. 20 seconds off the pace so far.
Now, Novakova of the Czech Republic, 6 seconds up at 3,300 kilometers over Čekalova into the stadium, skating strongly in the final 100 here. And Novakova, actually, this is a really good effort by her, coming down the final straight here. And clearly, she's lost most of that advantage and is now outside Čekalova's time, but only by 2 seconds. She will be disappointed to have given that time away, but nonetheless, that's a decent effort.
Very, very dynamic. That's one of the stronger finishes we've seen. She was using all of her movement, the energy through her body into the skis. Hagen. Well, I think we're going to see a new time here, possibly by what, some 7 seconds from Hagen.
Well, we were talking about athletes who inspire. We were talking about Kowalczyk, but, you know, what has Marit Bjørgen done in that department for Norwegian women to be inspired to try and do what she's already achieved and it continues to achieve?
She's set the Norwegian team alight. Well, that's good from Hagen, 6.2.
Yeah, 6.2, and does mean that Čekalova finished well, you see, because she was 11 seconds ahead. And Teresa Johaug, who we haven't really seen at all through this.
Well, she's going to change everything now that she's just got her journey underway.
Kalle, quickest at 900 meters and also 2,200, ahead of Hagen by 7 seconds.
With this cold snow, David, the crystals are very aggressive and it's difficult to keep the tempo strong. That looks like Posey Musgrave up ahead of Kalle.
Yeah, 51 to 54, so that's 2, 3, 4, so that's a 90-second gain by Kalle on Posey Musgrave. What Posey needs to do is, when Kalle goes past her, which she surely will, is to hang on to her ski tails.
Yeah, definitely. And Posey yesterday, more her strength is the sprinting, although I think she must have been a little disappointed 14 seconds off the qualifying pace.
And Kalle, who's gained another second over Hagen in the last 1,000 meters. So all building up here. There is your current leader. Martine Ek Hagen, the leader in 12 minutes 58.6, but that time can be beaten. And here's Kerttu Niskanen.
Love the smooth attitude of her body, the compression through the right, the head changing over to the left, above the left knee to get the energy to the left side, glide out. I think this is going to change everything now, David, with Johaug attacking, and she can handle this distance well, and the tempo will be incredible. That's some work rate.
Yeah. Niskanen really no impression, 20 seconds to make up, and that's not possible. But Johaug here, what is she going to do to Kalle's time? She's going to respect it, actually, because look at this, 1.2 seconds. It shows you that Kalle's effort was and is still decent, because Kalle's at the moment mathematically leading the race and Johaug's on the chase. Ida Ingsmarsdottir, who's had, well, mixed form. Remember, she fell in the sprint in Finland last weekend, and yesterday ended up only in 12th place. Well, what can she do? She's had 30 World Cup starts now in her career, yet to get to the podium. And Sadie Bjørnsen for the United States. Now, you need much more aggression in the first part of the race. You can't leave yourself with that sort of deficit.
Looks like Denise Herrmann getting ready for her start.
Yeah, she was very disappointing in the final, wasn't she? She never really got into it. The 4 Norwegians charged away, and she and Katja Wisner from Slovenia sort of hung at the back, and we were thinking, well, okay, fine, that maybe is a decent game plan, but you know, when Marit Bjørgen kept turning the screw, they got caught out and they were left behind.
They were totally left for dead. Kala has really, she started fast, and now she seems to have picked up even more as she heads down now into the finish.
Well, this is very much her cup of tea, isn't it? The Olympic 10-kilometer Vancouver freestyle skating champion. And Kala, a class act.
Lovely cornering there, keeping a tighter inside line. Shortest way is always the fastest way. Trying to keep the momentum now into the home 200. A lot of athletes standing up prior to that barricade banner there, and Kala using her glide to as far as she can into the home straight.
Yeah, double silver gold medalist. We talk about her Vancouver success, but 2 brilliant silver medals in Sochi in the 10K Classic and in the skiathlon. So 3 times an Olympic, in fact 4 times with the relay, an Olympic medalist. And Charlotte Kalla, at the age of 27, still got plenty to offer. She's got to be a main player for the Swedes in Falun.
I think so.
She's going to bring the crowds in.
She will, and she is capable, as we saw in Sochi, of doing incredible things at major championships. She seems to always lift her performance when she needs it most.
Yeah, and she's becoming a big occasion racer, isn't she? I mean, early days when she won the 2008 Tour de Ski, a little distant in the memory now. Then she rather lost her way, and she's rebuilt her career, actually.
She has. She looks a very strong athlete. She's not very tall. She's only 1 meter, well, just around 1.60 m, but very powerful. And she showed us, well, winning the 2008 Tour de Ski as a very young athlete, the strength that she has.
Yeah, and she doesn't win very often in the World Cup, only 3 successes. But I don't, you know, I mean, she did have that time when she wasn't very well, and she had to recover from that. And that took her a good couple of seasons.
And almost that early success, winning the Tour de Ski, she got the world press on her case, and then expectations. You know, she was being, the country were expecting her to be winning it every time. But again, that's pressure for a young athlete. I think she's just coming to terms with who she is in her skiing and her performances now.
So still up the first climb. Teresa Johaug has gone through 3 seconds quicker than Kalla at 2,200 meters and is now on that climb up to 3,300. And that put her 9-10 seconds ahead of the likes of Novakova and Hagen. Hagen still in second place. Kalla in the warm chair, waiting at the finish to see who's going to knock her out of that. Hagen in second place. Čekaliva's dropped to third. Novakova's off the podium, but that's still a good result for the Czech athlete. Nicole Fessel down to fifth, and Jess Diggins for the United States, the best for her country, in sixth place. And now Østberg. Well, at the moment, this young woman, Østberg, is really proving to be one of the most gutsy Norwegians we've seen, but can she manage her energy? 2 sprints in a row, one last week, one this week, and we've questioned whether she actually manages her energy as well as she needs to.
Exactly as I was going to say there, clearly so good, so easy moving on the skate skis, but strategy not quite as good as it could be.
Well, Sadie Bjørnsen gives America 2 in the top 10 at the moment. And the last few starters just getting ready to take their turn.
Such a short distance, David. The athletes, there's a lot more nerves, I would say, for these short distance races. You know, you've got to attack it and keep on attacking like Therese Johaug is at the moment.
So she was only 3.2 seconds ahead of Johaug, but here you can see the dynamic of Johaug over Kalla, and this is a huge gain. This is an enormous amount of time that Johaug is pulling away ahead of Kalla. The tempo is astonishing.
And this is where Johaug knows that she is the world's best climber. This hill suits her. She'll be feeding off that, knowing that she can outmatch anybody in this huge climb. Her very, very light body weight and her absolute strength.
Yeah, and that's Katrin Harsem of Norway, who's ahead of her, who started 1 minute ahead of her. So it was 3.2 seconds ahead of Kalle.
Well, Kalle, David, had a wonderful finish. She had a very, very strong finish, Kalle, over this next 1.7.
So that's virtually a 6-second gain in 1,000 meters.
And that's all about the climb. This is the strength of this incredible worker, Johaug.
Denise Herrmann. Interesting to see what she does today. She must be disappointed from yesterday.
I think so. She just could not live in the final, couldn't live with the attack that Marit Bjørgen gave just from the line. And I think she expected Marit to slow it down, but Marit didn't.
So here's this real difference. Got Østberg chasing Johaug, but look at the difference in physique here between these two Norwegian athletes. And both of them, you know, multi-achievers at junior level. That's not bad from Østberg. 4.7 down, and that's up 900 meters.
It's very, very strong. And, you know, when you go 4 times around yesterday's 1.25 kilometer sprint race, it takes some energy from you in today's race.
The Olympic sprint champion, Maiken Kaspersen Faller, knocked off the podium yesterday, only in 4th place in the freestyle sprint.
Parmakoski, I think she's a wonderfully improved athlete coming into this new season. Maybe slightly better in the classic than the freestyle. I think she'll be disappointed. 26.6 at 3.3 kilometers.
Mind you, that's the same running pace at the moment as Čekalova, who sits 3rd at the moment in the finish. Question is, has she got that sort of finish? Šebešek, who was the best part of 30 seconds behind Johaug. That would make her 20 behind Kalle, who she's chasing. So you can see that she's just got a long way to go, drop down to go over the rollers and get towards the stadium. And as I said, 20 seconds behind Kalle.
The glide, you can see the glide difference there, David. The athlete behind her, the Italian, hauling her in on that descent.
No change in the clubhouse at the moment. Still Charlotte Kalle from Martin Ekhagen. Then best for Russia, Čekalova in 3rd place. Best for the Czech Republic, Novakova in 4th place. Nicole Fessel, the top German, 5th. Alenka Šebešek there going into 6th place for Slovenia. Jess Diggins down to 7th place, ahead of Thea Dawson of Norway on her debut. I mean, that is going to be a good result. Yes, she's going to get pushed down, but she's going to get World Cup points.
It's brilliant. Again, introduce another one in those red suits. And they never seem to let you down. The development's so strong in Norway. Wasn't the same here when you look back 20 years when the Olympics came here. The Norwegian women's team were good, but not that strong. In the distance race freestyle, it was about Italy and Russia, and then Russia, Italy.
It was sort of Bentascori time.
Bentascori, Anita Moen time. They were good. They took medals in the relay.
Here comes the terror that is Teresa Johaug, coming in to take the lead away from Charlotte Kalle by 11 seconds. So that's another 2 seconds picked up in the last 1,700 meters. And Marit Bjørgen to get the whole field on the way. 83 unbelievable World Cup victories for this woman. Who's to say that she isn't going to continue winning ways? This is tough, though. Can't afford any mistakes. And Marit Bjørgen gets away, and you can see the intensity of her start.
Do you know, and with 83 victories, David, I don't see any reason why she's not going to reach that incredible 100 figure at least, and maybe more.
Yeah, and who's going to lower that? Maybe not in our lifetimes.
Mate, it's just, it would be unusual. Though Therese Johaug, now that she's 26-year-old, she's got all the strength, she's going to be winning a lot this season.
That's pretty good from Heidi Weng here. joyous being on the podium yesterday, so that will have given her a terrific confidence boost. And 5.5 seconds, that's not bad. Johaug, the fastest up the first 900 meters. Kalle, second quickest. Ersberg's about 4 seconds off. Weng, 5.5. And when I look up that first climb, in the first 7 places, there are 5 Norwegians in there at the moment. That's just up 900 meters, though, so we take that with a pinch of salt. But it's going to be very interesting to see, as Palmakoski comes home, how Marit Bjørgen's going to fare against Therese Johaug. Because Therese's tempo coming up to 3,300 meters was amazing.
Attacking all the way, and she did take a little more out of Kalle on the descent. I thought Charlotte Kalle had one of the best descents into the stadium. Such good technique, all of the Norwegian skiers. Haga, efficient, nothing wasted. Every movement is transferred into the skis, and the efficiency of the glide.
Well, nobody's got a squad in the women's division of cross-country skiing as deep as the Norwegians.
It's almost worrying for the rest of the nations. Russia, well, nowhere near the former strength they had in cross-country skiing, but this lady is what's helped drag Norway up to where it is now.
Really connected. And we've just switched up there to Haga, but we need to get back to Bjørgen.
Haga 24 behind, that surprises me, but still 5th position.
So Marit Bjørgen up the first 900. I'm not surprised, actually. Marit Bjørgen making 4 seconds, and that could be really important. Those 4 seconds advantage could be really important when it comes to a little later in the race.
Well, you know, her start time, David, 3 minutes past the 11 local time. She was out here just after 8 o'clock in the morning, 3 hours before the start. She really wants this today.
The question for me, Mike, as you see the confirmation of the positions at 900 meters, is Marit Bjørgen, I think, might come home quicker than Therese Johaug. The question for me now is between 900 and 2.2 kilometers and 2.2 kilometers and 3.3, those climbing sections where Therese Johaug was doing so much damage. And that 4 seconds that she's got in her pocket at 900 meters could be hugely valuable.
Valid analysis there, because yes, this is where Therese has her strength on the climb up here, and I think that Bjørgen will lose a little. And her own strategy, she said it in the interview, that she would attack it so strong today, Marit Bjørgen, and 4 seconds is huge to take off Therese.
Hey, we didn't actually acknowledge, and I think we should, Ida Ingsmarsdottir. That is a decent effort. She's gone into 5th place. She's 30 seconds, 31.7 behind Johaug, but that is a decent effort from her.
It's a wonderful effort. When you look at, take Therese out of it and Kalle, it puts Ingsmarsdottir only, what, 7 seconds behind 3rd place. It's a great effort.
So Therese still so focused on her racing, despite all her off-snow activities with design and fashion. And there is the clubhouse situation at the moment. Yeah, we've just given a mention to Ingsmarsdottir, but I think looking at Novakova in 6th place still, Palmakoski of the Finnish team, Novakova for the Czech Republic. Those are still pretty good efforts there. Nicole Fessel in 8th now, Shebashek of Slovenia down to 9th, Jess Diggins for the United States in 10th place. Now they're all going to get knocked down by a few places, but this is interesting. Denise Herrmann, she's just at the back there. Now here she is.
She's a very tall athlete, and that's why she can travel more efficiently, but you also need the tempo up this climb. It's like cycling up a steep hill. If you're in the big gears, it tires you more so. They've figured that out in the Tour de France. If you're in the small, hard, fast rotations, it's more efficient.
Now, Marit Bjørgen, I can tell you, has gone from 900 meters to 2,200 meters, and she's held the advantage. 4.2 seconds up on Therese Johaug, 7 up on Charlotte Kalle. So she's made ground on Kalle, but she's given nothing away to Johaug. So this is pacing, and those coaches' boards and the shouts of information are really accurate now. What this for me is the crucial part for Marit Bjørgen as we see Haga coming into the closing stages is between 2.2 and 3.3. That 1,100 meters, that is the crucial difference. Is it going to be Bjørgen? Is it going to be Johaug?
I think today it has to be Bjørgen. She's got the advantage of the timings, and she knows that Therese is better in the classic, so tomorrow Therese will be chasing her down anyway. And I must say, Haga, for me, took the descent way on the inside, best of anyone so far.
And she goes into third place, so we now got 3 Norwegians in the top 4. And Haga, 24 seconds down. She lost absolutely nothing in the last 1,700 meters to Therese Johaug, skied at exactly the same speed. So that's pretty impressive from her. Haga, Ragnhild Haga from Hulta, another youngster, 23 years of age. Look at the under-23 record for her as we see Heidi Weng. Ragnhild Haga in the clubhouse, the skiathlon under-23 champion of the world 2 seasons ago, runner-up last year, and 10-kilometer freestyle under-23 champion also two seasons ago. I mean, you just see the performance in the juniors and the under-23s from the Norwegian women.
And Novakova, such a good performance to still be up there with the Norwegians.
Yeah. Well, she's just been pushed down to 8th place because Østberg has finished into 5th spot. Yeah, I was just thinking for a moment, we needed some animation because it looks as if she was sort of posing for a portrait. Now we're still waiting though for this. I'm really frustrated that we're not seeing Marit Bjørgen. I'd really like to see Marit Bjørgen now. She has to be very close to that 3.3 thousand meters. They've heard me. Here we go.
To you.
Here we go. Now she's still got a ways to go. Just wonder if the track might quicken a little bit as the sun gets onto it.
Marginally, but you can still see it's very compact there. She went to her left to try and find some faster snow, did Marit Bjørgen.
All artificial, this snow. They were really concerned at one time that they really wouldn't have enough for a 5-kilometer loop. And they were contemplating 2.5 kilometers, but I think this is a much better test. You get a much greater variety of terrain, and that's what really makes the race. 2.5 sometimes is a little skinny in the differential of terrain and the questions that are being asked.
I do like this course. They've given everything in this course, the fast descents, the sharp turns, and these huge climbs. Well, this is going to be close, David, maybe 3 seconds.
Yeah, this is very tight, isn't it? Coming up to the line, there's 3. Now it was 4.2. Now, it's all down to the big descent here. And that 4.2 second advantage that she got on the first 900, now it's ski skating step against Johaug, and Hermann 10th place, but that's a big time loss for her. This is going to be fascinating between Marit Bjørgen and Therese Johaug, because Therese Johaug's advantage was on the climbing.
And look, well, as you predicted that, of course, the climb is where Therese is the world's best. But didn't think that Marit would lose quite so much. But Marit's strategy to go out so strong was to counter that big climb in the middle. But possibly she stripped herself a little too early of the energy she needs, especially after the 4 sprints yesterday where she was untouchable. Has to be tired from that output of energy yesterday.
So Therese Johaug in the lead from Charlotte Kalla, Ragnhild Haga of Norway in 3rd place, and then Martin Ekhagen 4th, Ingvild Østberg for Norway, and that means 4 Norwegians in the top 5 at the moment. And here comes the Olympic sprint champion Faller, and this isn't really her cup of tea. I'm just having a think here about some 1 or 2 personal bests, because although this is a race that's tied into a triple combination here, Ragnhild Haga in 3rd place at the moment, I mean, she's never been better than 9th in a World Cup race, so she's clearly got a personal best.
And I think that Novikova has smashed her personal best if ever.
I'll just check on that for you, Mike, but I think you're absolutely spot on there with Novikova.
In the distance, I think she just got into the top 30 as her previous best. Weng's delighted with that second place, and boy, did she work for it on the easier final part of the track.
Well, Novikova's in very good form because her personal best was in Ruka Kusamo last weekend in the sprint, or Friday a week ago, if you know what I mean, and she was 20th there, so absolutely put in a new personal best. And the Norwegians are just packing them in here.
Johaug, she's looking nervous. She knows how good Marit is on cornering, on descents, and that extra body mass will carry the skis a little faster. She's taken that one a little wide.
5 Norwegians in the top 10, a minute and 10 seconds to get home. And Therese Johaug looking from the chair at the screen, just watching on for Marit Bjørgen. So 12:33.7, the advantage to Johaug at the last time check by 0.08 of a second. Marit on the climb, scampering up here. She knows this part of the course so well. This is where she excelled in the sprint 24 hours ago. And now she comes to the right-hander, gets to the top of here, drops down, and Therese Johaug knows that this is nail-biting stuff. Johaug thinks that she's got this ahead of Marit Bjørgen, and that her finish was faster, and she may well be right here. And Marit Bjørgen skis running well, but you know, Mike, you just sense that Johaug has had the laugh on Marit on this day, or has she?
Well, Marit's energy up that final climb. She's got 15 seconds to go. It's going to be so close.
Here we go, the countdown to the finish line. 9, 8, 7. She's the second of these two. 4, 3, 2, 1. 800ths, and Marit by 300ths, and Johaug takes it. It was going to be like that. Unbelievable finish there.
Well,
she got half a second back, Marit, but it wasn't enough.
That is just beyond belief. Everything, the advantage was to Bjørgen there. She was getting the split times, and boy, did she attack the final part of the course.
And you know, when you said on that turn when she was a little wide,
that's your point
the
three.
Difference.
That's your point 3. Her legs were exhausted at that point. She stood up a little early. She didn't quite carry the energy into the next climb.
What a fine race there to finish the women's 5K. It took a long time to get into it, but I tell you what a terrific finish there. And it's Norway, 1, 2, 3, a clean sweep for the women 2 days running. Charlotte Kalla down to 4th, the best for Sweden. Ragnhild Haga, a lifetime best in 5th. Martin Ekhagen in 6th place. Ursberg in 7th. Chekalaiva, the best for Russia, in 8th place. Ingsmar Dotter for Sweden in 9th. Novikova of the Czech Republic, a lifetime best in 10th place. And then comes Parmakovsky and Denise Herman in 11th and 12th. They're the best for Finland. Krista Parmakovsky, 34 seconds off the lead. And here is the confirmation of those positions and places. And just going down a little bit further, the best for Germany was Denise Herman, followed by Nicole Fessel. The best for Slovenia, Alenka Shebashek in 14th place. The best for America, Jessica Diggins in 15th spot. Great finish, Mike.
Amazing finish, and well, Bjørgen tried, but today it was all about the stronger Johaug.
Well, that's just going to really be fantastic, isn't it, in terms of, you know, tomorrow's third and final leg. Okay, here's the winner of today's race.
Norway, the winner of stage 2 in the mini tour here in Lillehammer. Hard, long climbs. It favors you really well.
Yeah, I love this track. It's a lot of hills, and I do a really good race today, and it's really fun to see that. I also can go fast on the 5K because before much longer, much better for me. But now I also can see that I can go fast for the short tracks.
We saw not only just fast in the 5K, but you had a good sprint yesterday, and
and obviously last weekend in the classic competition you destroyed everybody. So I think this tour is really nicely laid out for you.
Yeah, I'm in really good shape now, and it's also good to see that all the training I've done with the sprint has been good. So I'm looking forward tomorrow. I think it will be a hard race, so I will do my best, and then we will see.
Congratulations today, and good luck tomorrow.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very good point. That performance over such a short distance for her. Well, as you can see, the biathletes are getting ready in Östersund in Sweden for the men's sprint. Patrick Winterton, your host for that in Sweden, where at least they've got some snow, which is good news. For the moment, from Mike Dixon and myself, David Goldstrom from Lillehammer, bye-bye.